Most imagine old age solitude as an inevitable, desolate chapter, a quiet fading. But what if that common belief is dangerously wrong, a misconception hiding a profound secret to inner strength? Seriously, what if the quiet isn't an ending at all, but a powerful, uncharted beginning? In just the few minutes it takes to get through this, you're going to discover 6 transformative habits, and stick around because the final one is rarely spoken of, yet it could be the key that flips your entire script. The crushing weight of loneliness after decades of companionship, that fear of fading into invisibility, it's real. But these aren't just vague suggestions. These are practical, grounding actions. The 6th, in particular, holds a stunning power to shift your entire mindset from isolation to quiet resilience. Are you ready to uncover how these simple, yet profound, shifts can turn the challenge of living alone into a journey of unexpected peace? What if the key to a fulfilling later life isn't about what you've lost, but what you're about to find? Don't miss out on wisdom that could rewrite your experience of solitude, insights many stumble upon far too late. The silence of an empty home can feel deafening, can't it? A daily reminder of what's gone. So, the burning question is, are you ready to learn how to transform that silence, not into despair, but into a powerful, guiding rhythm? Habit 1. The unseen anchor: how Walter's mundane walk rebuilt his world. The silence in Walter's home, once vibrant with 52 years of shared life, now echoed with an unnerving emptiness. He knew, as dawn reluctantly broke each day, that the first step wasn't merely about filling time. No, it was about finding solid ground in a world that had suddenly become shapeless. How does one even begin to reclaim a sense of self when the very landscape of life changes so drastically? Picture Walter, 81, a shadow at his window. The world outside buzzed on, indifferent, but inside, time had warped into a painful blur since his wife passed. He faced a loneliness so profound, days threatened to melt into one another, a terrifying abyss of unstructured hours. Then he did something. He started a small, consistent physical routine. A slow, deliberate walk to the mailbox each morning. A simple ritual. Rain or shine, mail or no mail. Initially, his thoughts were bleak, echoing the emptiness. What's the point? Just an empty box, right? But then, a subtle shift. A flicker. He realized, with a clarity that almost startled him, it wasn't about the walk, it was about proving to myself that I was still in the world. Boom! That profound realization was his first real taste of somatic grounding, using the body, simple movement, to steady a mind lost in the storm of grief. This small act, the crunch of gravel under his feet, the familiar coolness of the metal mailbox, provided an anchor. This physical routine wasn't about fitness, not for show. Its sole purpose was to feel anchored, to carve out a personal rhythm, and to reclaim a sliver of control. Each step, each morning, whispered to his nervous system, "You're here, you're safe, you're still moving." That tiny physical act became Walter's lifeline, his way to re-establish certainty. He later said it helped him rebuild his days, brick by brick. This first brick, this daily walk, hinted at something bigger, an unconscious drive to reconstruct his very life. The house might have felt emptier, sure, but this routine was a quiet reminder. The foundation, still strong. Walter gripped the familiar wood of his mailbox, a small, solid point in his shifting world. He'd found his first brick. But as he turned back towards the quiet house, a new question began to bubble up. An anchor provides stability? Absolutely. But what about connection? How could he, in his quiet little corner of the world, still matter to someone else? Habit 2, Ruth's Thursday calls. The surprising power of being quietly useful. That question of Walter's, how to matter, how to connect when you feel adrift even with an anchor, it's a big one. And it led many wise elders, like 77-year-old Ruth, to a frankly stunning discovery. The fastest way to feel truly alive again. It wasn't through some grand, sweeping gesture. Nope, it was through the almost invisible threads of small, purposeful acts for others. Ruth didn't set out to change the world. She just picked up her phone, Ruth rarely ventured far from her quiet neighborhood anymore. Driving was a memory, and the world, she sometimes confessed with a sigh, felt like it had forgotten her. Alone, the days often stretched, a quiet, unwavering sameness. But every Thursday, something remarkable happened. Not a flashy event, nothing for the papers. Just a series of simple phone calls that rippled outwards with surprising warmth. Each Thursday, Ruth would call 3 people on her street. Her intention? Crystal clear and beautifully simple. Not to offer advice, just to listen. Just listen. This became her quiet contribution, a tiny beacon of community in her week. And the impact, you could feel it. Those she called started calling it their Thursday check-in, something they genuinely looked forward to. This simple act gave Ruth a role, a purpose. It offered her neighbors reassurance, a friendly voice in their own, perhaps equally quiet, routines. It's a perfect picture of generative purpose, that profound human need to be useful, to contribute in small, meaningful ways. These tiny offerings, like Ruth's calls, they reconnect. They remind you, and the person on the other end, that your existence still matters in the daily dance of someone else's life. There's a deeply healing power in being needed, in knowing you're not just marking time but actively shaping it, however subtly, for others. This sense of purpose, it's not just a nice feeling. It often translates to tangible benefits. Think lower rates of depression, better sleep, even longer lifespans. And it's not really about what you do, but what that action symbolizes. That you are still very much part of the circle. For Ruth, the feeling was profound. She felt deeply connected. She shared, her voice soft. In a world that often moves too fast to notice the quiet ones, the unexpected depth of these simple calls became her lifeline. A quiet mystery, this human connection thing she often pondered. How could just listening achieve so much? This quiet act, this was her secret way of shaping time for others. Powerful stuff. Ruth would hang up the phone on Thursday evenings, a quiet smile playing on her lips, a warmth spreading through her. She was weaving herself back, thread by thread, into the fabric of her small world. But even she, like Walter with his bricks, sensed these individual acts of connection, precious as they were, might need a larger framework to truly carry her through. What happens if the days themselves start to lose their shape entirely? Habit 3, Bill's morning ritual, the lifeline of predictable rhythms. That creeping sense of formlessness, that insidious drift of time when it's unstructured. It's a trap. Common one. And Bill, 81, he recognized it with a jolt one Tuesday morning. Woke up, and this disquieting feeling washed over him. He couldn't pinpoint, for the life of him, what he'd done the day before. Now, it wasn't memory failing him, not exactly. It was something more subtle, more insidious, the blurring of days into a shapeless void. A very real peril when you're living alone. Many older folks, finding themselves adrift like this, they figure out that even a light routine, something small, can be an absolute lifeline. Bill got it. His solution, much like Walter's, was deceptively simple, but, man, was it stabilizing. He set up a morning ritual. Toast, peanut butter, can't go wrong there. 1 chapter of a Western novel, classic, and then 10 minutes of gentle stretching. He did this, as he put it, his eyes twinkling a bit. Not because he has to, but because he wants to feel ready for whatever the day might bring. That desire to feel ready, that's key. It underscores how vital structure is. And structure doesn't mean you're running a military boot camp in your living room. Simple routines, checking the mailbox same time each day, coffee on the porch with the same radio station, a weekly call to someone you care about, these act as anchors. Solid points. They give the day shape, a discernible rhythm, a reason to keep moving. See, when you're surrounded by others, the structure of your day often just forms around those interactions. But when you're on your own, that rhythm has to come from within. And without it, even tiny decisions like when to eat or what to do next can start to feel ridiculously heavy. Over time, that weight, it can morph into some serious mental and emotional fatigue. That's exactly why wise seniors, the ones who navigate this well, choose to make small parts of their day predictable. Because predictability, well, it breeds stability. And in a world that feels increasingly chaotic, stability brings peace. Real peace. This isn't about having a boring day, not at all. It's about conserving mental energy, stopping your mind from constantly scrambling for direction, saving that precious energy for the moments that really matter. Bill's routine wasn't fancy, but it gave him something invaluable: momentum. He found that this momentum wasn't just for kickstarting the day. It created this invisible thread, pulling him steadily through the hours, a structure he could actually lean on. And momentum when you're living alone. He'd often say, a knowing look in his eye, is everything. These small, predictable acts, done consistently, they build a surprisingly resilient inner framework. Bill would close his Western novel, the faint scent of toast still in the air. Ritual complete. He'd feel this quiet readiness. He had his structure, his personal rhythm. Yet, sometimes, as he looked out the window, that old familiar pang would surface, the ache of not just being alone, but of feeling utterly unseen by the wider world. What good was all this inner order if your very presence seemed to leave no trace? Habit 4, Margaret's park bench, the vital act of being seen. That quiet ache, that chilling fear of becoming invisible. It's something Margaret, 79, knew intimately. This wasn't about craving applause or even needing long, deep conversations. No, it was simpler, more fundamental, a basic human need for acknowledgement, for the world to just register her presence. Some days, Margaret confessed once, a touch of wistfulness lacing her voice, I really do wonder if I've become invisible. And that wasn't vanity talking. It was a deep, resonant human ache, that subtle, creeping sense that her presence, her being, no longer mattered to the world in the way it once did. The truth, though, can still matter. It absolutely can. It just needs a place to land. A small stage for existence. Margaret found hers. A particular park bench, tucked away near the town's vibrant rose garden. Every Tuesday, without fail, she'd take her seat there. Now, this wasn't some grand, conscious strategy at first. More like an instinct, a pull. And over time, little things began to happen. Regular joggers, the ones on their usual routes, started offering a nod. Then, eventually, a wave. One sunny afternoon, a young boy, wrestling with a new wobbly bike, stopped near her bench and, with that beautiful, uncomplicated directness of a child, just asked her name. Now, Margaret exchanges waves with 5 or 6 familiar faces each week. None of them are close friends, you know? She'd say, a gentle, almost secretive smile playing on her lips. But that doesn't matter. What mattered? The exchange. The simple, fleeting recognition. Because here's the thing. It's not about desperately seeking attention. It's about acknowledgement. A whole different ball game. When you live alone, it's dangerously, frighteningly easy to become invisible. Days, even weeks, can pass without anyone saying your name out loud. And that profound silence, that lack of reflection from the outer world, it can chip away at your sense of self, your very identity. It's like fading. But then, someone greets you by name. A casual acquaintance in the street says, "Good to see you again, Margaret." And just like that, it affirms you still exist. That you're still woven, however lightly, into the fabric of other people's lives. These micro moments of recognition, they aren't trivial. They are lifelines, absolute lifelines. They restore that sense of identity, of belonging, that feeling of being part of the human landscape. Even the smallest interactions, the cashier at the local market who remembers you prefer paper over plastic, the librarian who notices the mystery novels you always return. These are small but incredibly powerful signs. Subtle confirmations that you are still part of a world that sees you. For Margaret, these fleeting connections became like little, bright, unexpected sparks in her week. She often found herself wondering about the lives of those who waved, constructing tiny, imaginative stories for them. Would one of those casual waves one day maybe turn into a brief conversation? The thought itself was a quiet spark, a gentle, hopeful anticipation. She wasn't invisible. Not anymore. She was part of the landscape. A quiet observer, yes, but a friendly, recognized presence. And that, Margaret felt, made all the difference in the world. These simple acts, just being present in a public space, allowing oneself to be seen, they can powerfully reaffirm one's existence. Margaret would watch the last jogger disappear down the tree-lined path, a faint smile still gracing her lips. Seen. She mattered in these small, fleeting ways. But these moments, precious as they were like punctuation marks in days that still needed their own internal cadence, right? A rhythm to carry her through the quieter hours back home. How could she make sure her days didn't just dissolve between these points of contact? Habit 5. Walter's themed days, crafting a rhythm that carries you. And this brings us back to Walter, whom we met earlier. Remember him? Now 82. That initial brick of his, that simple walk to the mailbox, it had expanded. It had become something more. He'd come to understand that while being seen, being acknowledged by the outside world, was important, a deep internal rhythm was the truest companion through the stretches of solitude. His kitchen calendar? It became his conductor's score. That single foundational brick had, over time, become the cornerstone of a carefully, and you could say lovingly, constructed week. His secret, he'd share with a knowing, almost mischievous glance, was this: rhythm, something far more profound than just rote routine, is what truly keeps the mind and spirit afloat when the house is quiet and the hours stretch out like a long, empty road. Because when you're living alone, especially as the years add up, the hours can start to blend. Oh, they can. Mornings melt into afternoons without any clear distinction, and entire days can just evaporate with little to anchor them. This disorienting, this sense of drift. But those who age wisely, like Walter, they come to know this truth deep in their bones. Rhythm is what keeps the mind and spirit buoyant. It's not just about a repetitive to-do list. No, it's about creating a sense of flow, of movement, something that carries you forward, gently but firmly, even on those days when the motivation to move at all feels like a distant memory. Walter's approach was beautifully simple, yet so deeply effective. That handwritten calendar on his kitchen wall? It was a visible testament to his daily anchors. Monday is soup day, he'd explain, pointing a steady finger. Tuesday, crossword day. Wednesday, I'm out there with my roses. Thursday, that's when I call my daughter. Friday, movie night with myself, and a bowl of popcorn. Naturally, Saturday I reread old letters, a journey back in time. And Sunday I rest. His own words capture the absolute essence of this practice. It may look like nothing much to anyone else, but to me it's everything. It's how I know I'm still living, not just existing. Think about that. Psychologically, this kind of chosen rhythm brings such a profound sense of stability and predictability. And that's deeply comforting, isn't it? Especially when so much else in life can feel uncertain or completely beyond our control. It can genuinely reduce stress, support better sleep, and instill that vital feeling of purpose, of having some say over your own time. With a rhythm like Walter's in place, you're no longer just passively waiting for something to happen. Instead, you're actively participating in your life again. It's not about meticulously filling every single hour of the day. Not at all. But having one or two of these daily anchors, these reliable points you can look forward to, can lift you right out of that drifting, lost sensation that sometimes comes with solitude. You start to anticipate small pleasures, and those small pleasures, well, they slowly begin to build real momentum. Walter found such a profound satisfaction in this self-orchestrated life, this quiet hum of purpose that resonated just beneath the surface of each day. When you're alone, rhythm becomes your quiet companion. It holds your hand through the silence. It gives your time shape, and it gently, persistently says, "Let's go again." Walter would look at his calendar, each day a small, tangible promise. His rhythm was strong, his inner world ordered and purposeful. And yet, he sensed there was one more step. A habit whispered about by the wisest of the wise, one that could amplify all the others. It involved not just the inner landscape, not just the immediate porch, but the wide world just beyond his door. What was this final, crucial act? Habit 6. Carol's daily walk, the unspoken power of stepping outside. Carol, 77, she just got this instinctively. even if she couldn't have put it into words as a habit. 5 years after losing her beloved husband, the four walls of her living room sometimes felt like they were physically closing in on her, suffocating. Her daily salvation wasn't some elaborate plan. It was a simple, yet fiercely determined, step across her own threshold. And this is the one habit few ever really talk about, yet it might just be the single most powerful turning point you can embrace. Carol embodies it. Each morning, come rain or shine, and I mean it, rain or shine, she does one simple thing. She steps outside. Why? Because she knows a terrifying, yet liberating truth. The longer you stay cooped up indoors, the smaller your world becomes. Period. And as your physical world constricts, your internal landscape, your mind, your spirit, it shrinks right along with it. It becomes terrifyingly easy to lose your sense of curiosity, your capacity for joy, your vital connection to the vibrant pulse of life that's literally thrumming just beyond your doorstep. Wise older folks like Carol, they understand this danger deep down. They don't wait for a perfectly sunny day or some grand event to give them an excuse to venture out. Oh no. Their reasons can be wonderfully, beautifully mundane. They go out to buy a single apple, maybe. They might just sit on the porch for 10 minutes, watching the neighborhood wake up or wind down. Or they might simply walk to the corner, as one wonderfully witty elder described it, just to say hello to the wind. These might seem like such small, almost trivial acts, right? But these little excursions, they carry significant weight. Being outside, it just shifts your energy. It's like a fundamental reset button for your entire system. It reminds your body how to move, your lungs how to breathe fully and deeply again, and your spirit that there's still a whole world out there worth showing up for. A world that still holds beauty, interest, and yes, even surprise. The mental health benefits? They're huge. Even brief contact with natural light and open space can lessen symptoms of depression, help regulate those tricky sleep patterns, and generally lift your mood. But this practice, it goes way beyond just the science. It's about your soul. It's about being part of something larger than the four walls of your living room, something more expansive, more dynamic, more alive. Take Carol's daily ritual. Every morning, she walks to the little coffee stand 3 blocks down from her house. Every single day, she orders the same thing, a small decaf extra cream. She says with this knowing little smile, it's not really about the coffee, you know. It's about the walk. It's the neighbor who waves from their window. It's the act of moving towards something, no matter how small, that reminds her she's still part of the world. Her quiet, unwavering determination to take that walk, even on days when her spirit felt heavy as lead, that was her daily victory. Her triumph over the encroaching shadows of isolation. Look, when you're older, your body might not crave grand adventures the way it used to, but your soul still absolutely does. And stepping outside, even for just 5 minutes, is such a profound way to say to yourself, and to the universe, I'm still here, and the world is still here for me. This simple act, it's a powerful, undeniable statement of engagement with life itself. Carol would sip her decaf, watching the world bustle by from the little coffee stand, a small, almost imperceptible smile of contentment on her face. You see, each of these 6 habits, from Walter's very first anchoring steps to Carol's daily greeting to the wind, they're so much more than just coping mechanisms. They are vibrant threads of resilience, woven together into the rich tapestry of a life that is still, and always can be, filled with meaning. But how do these individual threads, these powerful habits, truly come together to transform the entire experience of aging alone? The quiet, yes, it can indeed feel heavy sometimes. Can't it? Especially in the solitary landscape of our older years. Yet, as we've journeyed alongside Walter, Ruth, Bill, Margaret, or Eleanor, as she chose to be for her story, and Carol, a powerful, undeniable truth emerges from their experiences. Being alone does not, I repeat, does not have to mean being lost. Their lives, their simple daily choices, they illuminate so clearly how deliberate habits can transform solitude from something feared into a profound source of strength and quiet peace. Think about it, the sheer essence of these 6 habits. That consistent physical anchoring routine, like Walter's determined daily walk to his mailbox, it grounds you right here in the present moment. finding those small, almost hidden purposes, just as Ruth did with her Compassionate Thursday calls. It reconnects you not just to the community, but to your own inherent value. Implementing that gentle, personal structure, so beautifully exemplified by Bill's cherished morning ritual, gives your days a sustaining, life-affirming rhythm and powerfully wards off that disorienting, aimless feeling of drift. Creating or simply finding a place to be seen, much like Margaret at her now-famous park bench, reaffirms your identity, your sense of belonging in this world. Cultivating that deep, personal rhythm, as Walter did with his wonderfully themed days, carries you through the hours with a clear sense of intention and an almost surprising flow. And finally, that incredibly simple, yet oh so profound, act of stepping outside each day, just as Carol did for her daily coffee, renews your connection to the wider world and deeply nourishes your spirit. The most profound message woven through all of this? It's one of personal agency. Your agency. You are still the author of your days. Make no mistake about that. You are still the keeper of your rhythm, your breath, your kindness, and your unshakable hope. So, as you reflect on this journey we've taken, what stood out to you the most? What really resonated? Was it Walter's first defiant steps to that mailbox? His quiet, fierce declaration that he was, indeed, still in the world? Was it Ruth, reaching out through the simple technology of a telephone, stitching precious connections from the very threads of silence? Or perhaps it was Carol's simple, unadorned daily walk to the coffee stand, her quiet but firm insistence on meeting the world every day on her own terms? Look, there's no single, perfect, one-size-fits-all way to navigate aging alone. Of course not. But there are these deeply human ways. Ways that infuse genuine meaning, warmth, and an undeniable light into the quiet moments. These are the ways, the small, consistent actions, that can truly turn solitude into strength and transform everyday habits into a powerful, unwavering wellspring of hope. You're not just surviving these years, you are actively, powerfully shaping them one deliberate, mindful act at a time. You're imbuing your life with continued purpose and, yes, the ever-present, always beautiful possibility of unexpected joy. Now, what's one small step you can take today? Drop a comment below. I genuinely love to hear what resonated with you and what you're inspired to try. And hey, if this sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this, share it, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on more ways to make every chapter of life truly count.